people, indigenous people during that time. And you will find that in a lot of what we call Christmas carols, there is feeding that in from different faiths and different religions. And my favorite is Deck the Halls with Boughs of Holly, because my fa la la is almost up there with my being able to chirp. And that's just my favorite song. I don't know about the rest of you, but don't you feel like you can really get into a fa la la? Yeah, so it's really
A fa la la with it fairly well?
Yeah, fa la la. So, well, this morning we're having a wonderful talk by our wonderful. I'm saying wonderful so many times because that's true. For those of you who might not know it, our next speaker is the president of our parent church, the Universal Church of the Master. And she also has an office here. She's a doctor. She is a chiropractor. And when you get a chiropractic healing with her, it also has some spirituality attached. So it's not just moving bones around, although she did very well in moving my tibia after I happened to do the twist at our sock hop and twisted a bone. And I went in and boy, I crawled in and I walked out. And so it's nice to go to a doctor that has spiritual energy about her also. But besides that, she is a mother of a son who is just going through a very, very difficult time. And she lives in the mountains where it's been raining. And through all of this, through sleet and snow, and through difficulty and fire and flood, and I would like to add pestilence, but I don't think we have it yet, you know. I go on a wish list, but I mean, our speaker today has had it all this year. Has been a very difficult year, as it has for many of us. And what we want to do is please welcome Reverend Dr. Ayleen.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Around this one. Okay. No, I'll get dizzy. So it's just such an honor, to be here and to be participating in the annual celebrations that we have. And one of the really coolest things, if not the coolest thing, about the Universal Church of the Master is that it is all about inclusion. It's all about all these different things, and CCL just embodies that so profoundly. And at this time of the year, this can be an awesome time of the year, and it can be a really, really hard time of the year. Mm-hmm. And especially this year, because there have been so many people who have been through so many hardships, a lot of losses on a lot of different levels. People have lost work, people have lost lives, people have lost loved ones, people have lost homes, through a lot of events that, were kind of just sort of overtook them. And at this time of the year, normally, this is sort of a time, it's more rainy, it's more cloudy. I mean, except here in California where, it's like, oh my God, it rained. And, I have a friend in New York that says, I don't want to hear about it. She goes, I've got 8 feet of snow outside my house. Frankly, I don't feel bad for you. So, but still, we all go through that. And it's during this time of the year that the idea of weathering a storm becomes so profound. And cultures have found different ways to weather the storm. And one of the ones that resonates very much with me is the Celtic culture, the Druidic culture. That idea that at this time of year, there's some very, very, very sacred things happening. That this is the time of the year that we have moved into that place of introspection. That all our efforts throughout the year, whether they worked out or they didn't, are complete. And it's that time to let go of what didn't work out. But you learn from it. You spend time, and they gathered together in houses and just waited out the winter. And it was dark and it was cold, and the idea that it would seem to last forever until nature said and gave that first sign of, yes, it's starting to change. And as we come up on the solstice, and there will be many dressed very much like this, who will be gathering at places like Stonehenge and especially Newgrange in Ireland, which is what Stonehenge is with the summer solstice, Newgrange is with the winter solstice. And it's called Alban Arthur, the light of winter, or the light of Arthur, because the idea that the legend said that Arthur would rise again when the time came of greatest need of his people. And so the tradition, that crosses many traditions, the idea of rebirth and renewal, and that idea that everything comes back. And as, we will see spring come back, the warm weather will come back, the sun will come back. But during the time that it's not there, we have to be able to create tools to be able to manage that. The Celts, for them it was all right, you hunker down, you bring in all your stores, you figure out, what it is that you have. And then once you've figured out exactly how much you have, then whatever is left goes to someone who has less. They shared. If someone had a really great crop, then, maybe their neighbor didn't. Maybe they lost their strongest son in the war, so they couldn't, they didn't have enough help. Or maybe it was an elder couple who weren't able to work their fields as much as they could have. Whatever it is that was in excess of what you needed became that source for someone else.
Second harvest.
Yeah, second harvest, exactly. And it's amazing that, that we are able to carry on traditions. Cultures that never even were connected to each other still had similar traditions, which I find fascinating. In Native American tradition, many groups use cedar as a way to clear and to correct and balance. And the ancient Celts would take cedar and place it with their Yule log, and they would burn it to correct and balance any argument that was within a family. Because the idea was, before you went in to your home, before you went into the longhouse, before you went in anywhere with your group, your community, who you were going to spend several weeks being around, you had to settle any argument that you had with anyone before you went into that house. Because first, out of practicality, the idea of having two people who really can't stand each other trapped together for weeks, that's never going to end well. But from a spiritual point of view, the idea was whatever you take in there is going to be the seed of what you carry into your new year, what you carry into your new season. Do you want to take the argument, the disagreement, the resentment into your new year? If you don't take it in to the place where you are going to be preparing yourself for the new year. And one of the really amazing things about, the Celts were they were fierce warriors. And yet, one of the things most sacred to Druids is mistletoe. Mistletoe, it translates to all heal. And it is used as a healing item and as a healing medicine for many, many different things. And in Europe, in fact, it's being utilized to help treat cancer. And I certainly hope one day the US will be able to, kind of get excited about that as a natural healing herb. But it was also tremendously powerful in representing love, divine love. And as a part of that, anytime if two people, they might have been from opposing armies, from opposing clans, but if they met in the presence of mistletoe, they had to lay down their weapons. They had to drink together. They had to eat together. They had to sing together. And they could not battle or have disagreement for a full day.
Wow. That's awesome.
And the thing is that after that day that they spent together, maybe there were slightly less of enemies when they left. The whole idea of this season is that sense of recognizing that what connects us is far more than what separates us. And for me, that is just something that is so fundamental. Korthromaya igakruid. Balance in all things. That is something that I work at every single day, and honestly, I don't get it right all the time. Maybe, 30%, maybe 40%, on a good day, 60%. But it's something that we work at. It's not something, it's like, well, okay, got that down, now what? Because we are constantly challenged in our balance. We are constantly challenged. There's always something new coming in that can tilt us. So the goal is not to be absolutely balanced all the time. The goal is to be able to recognize when you're not and to do what you can to restore it. No one should expect themselves to be in balance all the time, profoundly spiritual all the time, in a place of love and gratitude all the time, because honestly, we're not. That's just how it goes. But the thing is, it's not that you go there. There's nothing wrong with going there, just don't pitch a tent. Don't set up camp. Realize where you're at and go, okay, first off, how much of this belongs to me? Second, how much of this is something maybe that somebody is projecting at me, but it's more about something else that's bothering them. It's about the ability to look for the bigger picture, even if it's not clear, but just to accept that, you know what, there's more to this story than that person being irritated at me or me being irritated at that person. I mean, we never know all of what somebody's going through. They could be going through just horrific grief. They could be going through horrific fear. And maybe they're not saying it. But, maybe there was something that got them about you. And maybe that happened because they needed, God decided, it's like, you know what? I need you to give me a hand. I need you to slightly irritate this person enough so they get real with themselves. And, there have been times when, I just, it's like, I'm handling it, I'm in control, I'm handling everything, I've got it all down, and then something happens and it's like, oh! And I get very real, very verbal for a few moments, and then afterwards, a lot of times I'll feel this sense of grief. I'll feel a sense of helplessness. I'll feel a sense of, just, I can't do this. And that's when I get real. When I'm frustrated or scared or angry or just grieving enough to realize the truth that I don't control anything except for how I respond to something. I can't control what's happening in the world. And for me to get upset about what's happening in the world, knowing I can't control it, that's kind of a waste of energy. My theory is put the amount of energy into something equivalent to the amount of ability you have to control it or to influence it. If you've only got this much ability to influence something, that's about how much energy you should put into it. You can take that energy and it could be much better used somewhere else. Somewhere where you do have control, where you do have that ability to choose. And nature teaches us that every single day, every single season we have. Nature teaches us balance because it has a natural ability. Your body has a natural function of homeostasis. And while that works, and sometimes it doesn't, it also is going to have a natural inclination that at some point it is going to stop functioning. Because we're in balance doesn't mean that we're going to stay there forever. It means that we have found an eye of the storm. It means that in that moment, we're okay. I don't have all the answers. I don't believe any one way has all the answers for everyone. And that's the cool part about being able to look in different places for pieces of the answer. But then once you get that answer, it's only going to lead to another question. So, that's just how it goes. All the best answers lead to more questions. It leads to a place where you can say, okay, but what's at the next level of this? And not be afraid to not have the answers. Nature just moves. And, the indigenous traditions and, the Celtic traditions and the Druidic traditions, all of those were based in the fact that that's what we follow. From the early times when, if the hunters wanted to, be able to hunt, they had to follow the animals. When we were a nomadic people, it's like, okay, well, it's getting too cold for us to do anything here, and, so we're gonna move to a place where everything's nicer, where it's more comfortable, where the animals are going. What are the animals eating? So how is it that we can find balance within ourselves? By looking to nature. One of the ways that we can do that is by looking to nature. Because when we look to nature, we look to God. We look to Creator. Because that's where Creator lies. Around us, within us. In the tiniest little microbe in the soil, to the sun itself. And they all move, and they all travel, and they all cycle through. They all have a space that they move through, realizing they're not going to stay in that one space. Animals migrate. You see flying south for the winter and north for the summer. The salmon that travel all the way back, no matter where they are, back to where they were born. Nobody tells them to do that. Nobody tells the animals that hibernate that, oh my gosh, yeah, I just got a text message. We better start eating a lot. And, it's that instinctiveness that we've lost a little bit of connection to. But I don't think we've lost that much. I think we have more of it than we think. That sense of, when the season and the skies start to be darker more often during the day. How many of us feel tired? How many of us would like to? Frankly, if the entire world were structured, it's like, you know what? You're going to get paid, but for the next 3 months, we want you to go home and just hang out at home. You're still going to make your regular pay, no problem. I think I would sign on for that. It's like if you had the entire winter to just go home and contemplate. Not to worry about shopping, not to worry about anything else, but to think, wow, what's my next year going to be? How am I going to work that? And the idea that nature all around us, the trees don't die, they go to sleep. And then in spring, you see the sprouts coming up again. Unless, of course, it's their time to go. The animals become quiet, even most of our pets. We see them change through this time of year. Maybe they want to cuddle a little more. Maybe, they gain a little bit more weight. Our bodies are designed to hold on to weight at this time of the year. So it's like, everybody's off the hook till January. So, it's like Regina's fudge, yes, enjoy. Or February, or spring. So the idea that, we can be able to weather both, what we're experiencing outside of ourselves and what we're experiencing inside of ourselves in a way that will help us to be able to become a part of the cycle of the year, as opposed to, fighting it. It's like fighting a current. It's like, trying to, they say fake it till you make it. And, well, you can fake it till you make it. But don't fake yourself. Don't try to tell yourself that something is in a particular way when it isn't. Because more than, telling ourselves positive things and doing affirmations and making vision boards and saying, hey, I've already won the lottery and da-da-da-da. Be real. Because it's in that reality of ourselves. Nature is real. Nature doesn't say it's like, it's like, well, gee, golly, I think I'm gonna, we're just gonna pretend like the trees haven't all lost their leaves. It's like, the trees don't try to hold on to the leaves saying, it's like, no, I'm still vibrant. I'm just like that pine tree. It's like, no, you're not. Just let the leaves fall. Because sometimes we do have to let the leaves fall. Sometimes we do have to release the things that we're attached to, the things that we feel identify us. Never be afraid to do that, because if you're being called to do that, then there's something more profound underneath. And you haven't lost anything. You will get everything back in the spring. But sometimes we do have to experience loss. Sometimes we do have to experience that cold winter where everything seems dark and nothing seems very hopeful, and those times can happen at any point. And one thing that the indigenous cultures all knew was that when those times came, you had community. You had your clan, you had your family, you had your village. You were able to find support. You could allow yourself not to be strong because there was somebody right next to you who could be strong for you, who you could lean on. And, things like the idea of the Yule log, which was about community. It was about continuity. You would burn the Yule log and then it was put out ceremonially. And then that piece of it that was taken was used to light the next Yule log. So it's like that sense of community, that sense of warmth, that sense of life that was maintained. I mean, it wasn't like, no, we're never gonna let the Yule log, burn out. It's just, we're gonna burn it, but we're just gonna keep throwing stuff on it. And then, oh, it's gone. No, it's like, no, the Yule log is supposed to be burned, then go out, then it's going to be coming back next year. We know this. And that is something that is a part of what it is to be human. It is to be human to go through those tough times, to doubt, to wonder. For me, it's those times when, I say, you know what? God, you got a minute? And I always picture the response saying, sure, yeah. And I ask, are you sure you're not too busy? No. This can wait. What do you need?
You don't get a busy signal?
I do not get a busy signal. And none of us do. We may, it's like, oh, well, I'm not important enough. My problems aren't important enough compared to other people. Creator's busy with them. But in my mind, the story I tell myself, which, if you're going to tell yourself a story, tell yourself a good one. In my mind, God's sitting at a desk and says, sure. No, this can wait. What is it? Come on in. What do you need? And just by imagining that, can you imagine what it would be like to have whatever concept of creator that you have say, no, I'm not too busy. What do you need? Come on, talk to me. And then I talk. And I say the things that are scaring me. And in my story, Creator says, wow, yeah, I know. It's really tough. But do you trust me? And I say, yeah. I've got something so awesome planned for you. But it's gonna be tough. But there's gonna be amazing things on the other side of it. And you know what? In the meantime, tell you what, I'm gonna do this for you to kind of tide you over. Oh, okay. Well, thanks. I really appreciate that. Okay, well, come back anytime. That's, like I said, that's my story. And I like it. And it comforts me. And when I think about all the things we're connected to, you know, we are made of the stuff of stars. We have stars inside of us. You know, when we gaze out at the night sky and see those things twinkling, you know, that's a part of us. And, you know, knowing that I'm connected to everything, including every person here. You know, I'm grateful for all of you. And to be able to be in balance with the worst in me. You know, I'm very honored, and people say nice things about me, and I usually look down because well, that's just what I do. Because I feel overwhelmed by it sometimes. You know, isn't it always easier to hear criticism than it is to hear a compliment? You know, it's like criticism, it's like, well, okay, you know, I can just say that, you know, whatever. Or, yeah, you know, that's me. Including that little voice that criticizes ourselves. But then for somebody to say, wow, you're really awesome. Or you look awesome today. Or I love the way your hair is cut. Or, you know, I love the color of your beard. Yeah, and so to picture that there's, you know, that aspect of us. I mean, nature is awesome. Nature is beautiful. And we're a part of it. So that makes us awesome and beautiful. And sometimes nature can be overwhelming and tumultuous and almost angry seeming. Well, that's us too. Sometimes, you know, nature is like, you know, a smooth river, gently, you know, making that beautiful little river sound. And I live in the woods, so I get to hear that every single day. And sometimes it's a tsunami that just wipes out everything in its path. And that's us. How we weather the storm, in part, is by not becoming a part of the storm. By realizing that that storm exists in us, whether it's political, whether it's emotional, every storm that's out there is a part of us. We're connected to it. We're connected to nature, we're connected to the storms. We're connected to other people. We're connected to their storms. First, realize that it is a storm and that storms pass. Second, what is your part of the storm? Are you feeding the storm? Or are you moving it to peace? So, this is a beautiful season like they all are. Become one with it. When a storm comes, study it. Learn from it. See what gift it brings to you, what it can teach you, and then let it go. Because like everything, it will pass. Life is fun until it isn't, and it sucks until it doesn't. But that doesn't mean we can't have a good time and find balance while we're doing it. Thank you.